They still talk about that Halloween night in Lincolnton, Georgia. People argue about what happened because people always argue about things they're afraid to admit are real. The official story is storm damage. The church calls it spiritual warfare. Sheriff Bentley says it was a series of unrelated incidents during a severe weather event. But the people who were there, the ones who felt breath on their necks, they don't talk about the storm first. They talk about the fog. It rolled in around 10 p.m., not drifting off Clark's Hill Lake, not creeping up from the fields. It poured in like something alive, heavy, cold, mean. It crawled under porch rails and slid under doors. It swallowed the street lights and turned them into floating yellow halos. It smothered sounds so deep you could barely hear your own shoes. People said later you could taste it. They said the air tasted like breathing in a handful of pennies. By 10:07, half of Lincolnton had already lost power. By 10:10, every dog in town went quiet. By 10:12, the first intruder stepped out of that fog. Miss Ruth was on her porch on Elm Street with a blanket around her legs and a little battery lantern in her lap. She always sat up in storms. Her husband used to sit up with her, but he's gone now, so she keeps watch alone. She wasn't scared of thunder, she wasn't scared of drums. She'd lived too long for that, but she went quiet when she saw the shape standing at the curb. It was tall, broad, steady. It didn't sway in the wind, and it didn't fidget like a teenager. It just stood there, facing her house. The porch light caught part of its face, and that's when she realized it wasn't a face. It was a flat, blank hospital white mask. No expression, no emotion, just black holes for eyes. In its right hand, the shape held a kitchen knife. Long, heavy, loose in the grip like it had held that knife all night. "Hello?" Ruth called out, because manners don't die, even when common sense says lock the door. "Can I help you with something?" The shape didn't answer. It started walking toward her porch, not running, not yelling, just walking, like it already belonged there. Something in the way it moved broke something inside her. It wasn't running like some drugged-up idiot. It wasn't raging like some angry boyfriend. It walked like this was already decided, like this was already going to happen. Her survival instinct finally woke up. Miss Ruth jumped up faster than she'd moved in 10 years, hurried inside, and slammed the door. Her hands shook so bad she almost missed the deadbolt twice. She dragged one of her kitchen chairs over and jammed it under the knob. Then she heard the steps on her porch. 1, 2, 3. The doorknob turned. He didn't kick the door. He didn't beat on it. He just leaned. The wood moaned. The frame bent. The chair under Ruth's hands shuddered like something was pushing on it from outside with patient, steady force. "Please, God," she whispered. "Please, God. Please, God." The porch exploded. Something hit from the outside with a crack like a telephone pole snapping in half. The entire wall beside the door jumped and bowed inward. Plaster split 6 feet off the floor and rained down in dusty chunks. Ruth threw herself backward and landed on her side. Then silence. The pressure at the door was gone. When Sheriff Bentley rolled up minutes later with his light bar cutting wheat color through the Miss Ruth was alive, shaking, crying into both hands, but alive. The masked man was gone. The wall just inside her living room had an imprint caved into the drywall. The shape of a head smashed deep into the sheetrock like something had slammed his skull against it hard enough to spiderweb cracks all around the impact point. No blood, no body, just the proof of force. The sheriff asked her, "Did he get in the house?" Miss Ruth just kept whispering the same thing. "It wasn't me." Something hit him first. That was the first one. The fog wasn't done, not even close. By 10:29, the fog had moved past downtown and out toward Double Branches Road. Tommy and Wade Garrison had just backed their pickup into the yard. Tailgate down, cooler out, finishing up from cleaning a deer. Country boy night, Bluetooth speaker, beer cans clinking, laughter cutting through the cold. Then, under the music, came a different sound. A chainsaw, not the kind you use to clear a tree, the kind you hear when somebody's screaming. It revved out in the pines, wide open, high and angry, coming toward them. "The hell is that?" Wade asked. Before Tommy could answer, the tree line burst open. Something huge came out of the fog. Big man, heavy shoulders, leather apron, a face that wasn't his own stretched over his own. He ran at them, full speed, screaming through the noise, chainsaw jerking in his hands like a live animal. Tommy fell backward off the tailgate. "Get in the truck!" The chainsaw man raised the blade high, and then another sound hit the air. A roar, deep, inside your bones deep. The killer turned toward it and disappeared. 1 second he was there, the next he was gone. The chainsaw flew sideways, still spinning, before dying in the dirt. When they came back with Sheriff Bentley at dawn, the truck bed looked like somebody had slammed it with a tree trunk. Metal folded, the chainsaw bar twisted like a rag. Drag marks went into the woods, boot prints stumbled, and beside them, barefoot impressions, long-toed, sunk deep into hard ground. Whatever had come through that fog was not letting the butcher walk away. But the fog didn't stop there. It rolled on, straight toward the high school. By 10:52, the Lincoln County High Gym was running on backup power. Red emergency lights blinked across the court. 3 students, April, Darnell, and Cole, huddled under the bleachers, whispering, "Tell me you heard that." Then came a laugh. Not a kid's laugh, one pretending to be. "Come out, come out, come out," sang a voice that was far too happy. Plastic sneakers tapped on the floor. Tick, tick, tick. Something small stepped into the red light. Overalls soaked, freckles painted on, red hair matted, knife dragging behind it, metal kissing wood. The thing grinned. "There you are. I knew you were hiding. You want to play a game." It ran. Cole screamed. The tiny body darted for the sound, knife up, giggling. "I'm gonna open you up just a little slice." The ceiling groaned. Something huge landed on the roof with a crash that shook dust loose from the lights. Then a shadow dropped straight through. April swore later she only saw an arm, hair-covered, thick, strong enough to pick the small killer off the floor like a rag doll. It threw it across the court. Cinder block cracked. When deputies arrived later, they found tiny, bloody shoe prints crossing half the floor, and then stopping. No return tracks, no drag marks, just gone. That night, Lincolnton's fog had rules no human understood, and one enforcer who did. The fog rolled deeper into the neighborhoods. By 11:18, the fog smothered Lillian Sims Drive. Street lights turned to floating gold smudges, and you couldn't see more than a few feet ahead. 9-year-old Marcus Hale slipped outside barefoot because he heard someone crying. It sounded like another kid. Then came the voice from the storm drain. "Hey, little buddy," it whispered. Rainwater rushed past the curb, and 2 red balloons drifted up, strings trailing into darkness. The voice got warmer. Too warm. Crazy storm, huh? Blew the circus away. You smell it? You smell the popcorn? Pop, 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 popcorn. Marcus crouched down. A face slid up just under the grate. White paint, red grin, hair orange and dripping, eyes bright, too bright. There you are, the clown said sweetly. I thought I lost you. You dropped your balloon. You can't go home without it. Marcus whispered, my mama said not to talk to strangers. The clown gasped like he'd been hurt. Strangers? Oh no, I'm your friend. I'm from the fair. You like the fair. I love funnel cake and prizes and smiles. I can fix anything for you, little buddy. The bullies, the sad, the ugly, all gone. Come closer. Let me fix it. Marcus leaned in before he even knew he was moving. The clown's eyes twitched. The grin changed. That's it. It breathed. Just a little clove. It never finished. Something inside the drain yanked it backwards so fast its head hit the concrete rim with a skull crack. The red smile twisted. Marcus fell back screaming. And in that darkness, something else looked up. Amber eyes, huge, heavy fur, breathing slow, watching, not angry, protective. The clown vanished into the black water, thrashing like meat in a grinder. When Marcus's mama found him, crying in the yard, all that was left was a single popped red balloon floating in the gutter. The fog rolled on, this time toward the old Methodist church off McCormick Highway. Inside, 20 people prayed by candlelight, the storm howling outside. Then the side door creaked open. A burned man stepped inside, skin twisted and shiny, hat tilted low, blades glinting on his right hand. Getting sleepy yet? He whispered. Everyone felt it. The air grew thick. Knees wobbled, eyes drooped. One by one they started collapsing, the smell of smoke filling the air. He walked down the aisle, grinning. Don't fight it. Makes it worse when you fight it. I'll make it nice. Who's first? The pastor tried to stand, voice trembling. In the name of Christ, you will leave this house. The burned man's grin turned me. We got a tough guy, huh? The roof thundered. Wood cracked. Something enormous dropped through the ceiling. The burned man's smirk broke. Too late. He was snatched backward, lifted like a rag. His blade scraped sparks against stone before he slammed through the pews and hit the back wall. For the first time in his cursed life, he screamed like a man. Then he was gone, dragged out through the side wall and into the storm. When Sheriff Bentley arrived, the people were shaking but alive. The floor up front had deep claw gouges carved into the wood, each one thick enough to fit your wrist. The pastor just kept saying, "The Lord didn't send an angel tonight. He sent something else." And out in the fog, something walked away from the church, toward the football field. By 12:12, only the goalpost lights still burned at the high school field. A teenage boy named Aaron sat in his car, engine idling, phone in his lap. It rang. Unknown number. He answered, whispering, "Mama?" A soft voice laughed. "You sound scared." "Who is this?" "You know what the best part is?" the voice said. "Nobody's gonna hear you. Nobody's gonna find what's left of you." The voice giggled. "Look up." He did. A pale mask stared in through the driver's side window. Black eyelids, mouth carved too wide, a hunting knife tapping softly on the glass. Tap, tap, tap. "Do you think anybody will find what's left of you?" the voice whispered again, now both in his ear and outside the window. Something heavy landed on the hood. Metal screamed. The car dropped under the weight. Aaron hit the horn. It wailed, and through the windshield he saw the black-robed figure gone, dragged into the fog. Then, Bang! The metal goalpost shook. Again. Again. When the sheriff came, the post leaned sideways, the hood had a crater punched through, and the engine was cracked like plaster. Aaron only said one thing. It threw him like nothing. Miles away, the fog thinned, but didn't stop. A farmer named Clay was checking his cattle near the pines. The cows stood silent, all facing the same direction. Something flew overhead, wings wide as his truck, leathery, veined, beating the air like thunder. It circled once, then dropped onto his hood. Claws ripped through metal like it was wet paper. Clay fell backward into the mud, fumbling for his rifle. The creature turned toward him, jaw opening. It never got the chance. A black shadow hit it from the side, sending both into the ditch. The sound was brutal, bone-breaking, ground-shaking. It wasn't a fight, it was an execution. When deputies arrived the next day, the ditch looked like a crater. Feathers, mud, drag marks leading into the woods, and the fog still wasn't done. Out on Old Petersburg Road, a woman named Darlene Fletcher peeked through her blinds because her dogs were whining. In the yard, something stood in the mist, huge, dripping wet, wearing a cracked white hockey mask. A machete hung in its hand. It stood there in the mist for a long time, breathing, listening. Then the ground trembled, just once. The fog folded back like something big was moving through it. When Darlene looked again, the thing in the mask was gone. The only sound left was the wind, rolling through the trees toward the lake. And somewhere out there in the pines, something else was walking away, heavy, slow, and not human. By sunrise, Lincolnton was still standing. Porches were shattered. The garrison truck bed caved in, the church roof torn, the football goalpost bent. Darlene's lawn scarred like something had been dragged into the pines. But not one person was dead. Miss Ruth, the Garrisons, the students, Marcus, the pastor, Aaron, Clay, Darlene, all alive. Sheriff Bentley called it a miracle. Then Deputy Harris shouted from behind the church. In the wet dirt, he'd found tracks. Not boots, not paws, bare feet, each step 4 inches deep, long as a man's forearm. Beside them, dark blood that didn't look human. The tracks led into the woods and stopped. Harris said he saw it there, a shape in the shadows, too big for a man. Shoulders like tree trunks, hair wet, heavy, thick, eyes glowing amber in the dawn. It wasn't watching him. It was watching the town, not with kindness, with ownership. Then it turned and walked back into the forest, slow, calm, done with its work. And that's when Lincolnton understood. Those monsters hadn't come for us. They'd trespassed, because something older already owned these woods. They don't call it a monster anymore. They call it what it is. Bigfoot. The thing that hunts the things that hunt us. And if that fog ever rolls in again, you don't run. You get quiet. You let him work. Because he's out there, watching, polite.